What's up, YouTube? Magnus here, back with another video for you guys. Figured today I would run through a bunch of your comments and questions, answer them if they need answering, don't if they don't. Let's have a look. Joseph Demro asks, I'm just getting into leather work. First, your work is awesome. Thank you, Joseph. And question for you, on your brushes after you use dyes, do you toss them or can you clean them? How does that work? I let them sit around for quite a while, and then I rinse them underwater when I realize I need to use them and they're a little crispy, and then I use them again. So you could probably put them in something like, I don't know, some kind of solvent or acetone or something to clean them up really nicely, or probably just warm water afterwards to clean them up really nicely. Alcohol. Just clean them in alcohol. I'm a genius. I don't do that, but if you wanted to keep your brushes going, that's probably what you want to do since they're alcohol-based dyes, usually. D. Marcial says, love your voice. Thank you very much. Elliot Court says, please America, please use the fucking metric system. I have no fucking idea what size any of this is. Now, that's not really a question, but Elliot Court must understand that most of my viewers are from the United States, and that's why I use the wacky world system. Barbara Felique asks, what leather did you use? This was in regards to my jewelry box video. Any video where I have got something carved on it, some kind of imagery, is a vegetable tanned leather. Now the whole piece might not be vegetable tanned, usually it is, but if you're gonna carve something, it's gotta be vegetable tanned leather. What thickness is totally based on your project, but yeah, vegetable tanned leather. Bowie Jagger says, glorious beard. Sorry to disappoint you, that was an old video. This is the new beard, not very glorious. We'll see where it takes me in the future. But thanks for the comment anyways to past me. Brian Dixon asks, love your designs. Any chance you have a pattern for a sword frog that would work for an SCA rattan sword? I'd be very interested. Well, if you're gonna do an SCA rattan sword in a frog, probably just use O-rings, and you'll probably need a couple of O-rings so it doesn't spin off because of the balance point being usually so far close to the hilt, even in lighter basket hilt weapons. So you'd probably want a double O-ring kind of a deal, so it doesn't twist on its axis. Evan Kaplan says, why do you use a marker instead of a scratch awl? I think using a scratch awl would be better as it has a thinner line and makes an indentation that could be used as a more accurate guide for the blade. I switch back and forth. It really depends on if I feel like I can see my line. I don't want to be screwing around trying to figure out where the line is. Scratch awls, you can lose your line every once in a while. And with a marker, I'm almost always cutting and beveling away that mark anyways. So I've never really had an issue with it. I doubt there's any piece of mine where you can see any marker lines, so it doesn't really matter, and I can see it better. John Cope says, nicely made video. This was in regards to my leather vambrace elbow video. You seem to be losing a bit of leather with the way you were placing your patterns inboard of the edge of your material. Any reason you were not snugging them up on the sides? As expensive as leather is, I'd hate to lose any leather in my patterning placement. I am super picky with what I'm cutting, so usually on a fresh hide, the very, very edge is kind of weird for me. Like, it's not, sometimes it's fine, especially on thicker leather. It gets a little weird, a little rolled, a little thinner, a little thicker. So I just move everything in a bit. And then sometimes on top of that, I'm just lazy and just put it wherever I want to put it. I have lots of scrap leather, and part of that's probably part of the reason. Oh, here's a good one. Buddy Hutchins says, my first time with you, any particular reason you don't saddle stitch? Saludos. Well, a lot of people have differing opinions on what a saddle stitch is. For me, a saddle stitch is when you're taking your two needles, you're going through the hole at the same time, you cross them, and then you actually do a little loop like it's gonna be locked. I could be totally wrong, that's what I was taught. And hey, call me out on it if I'm wrong. So every single stitch has a little loop. Like the first tie on your shoelaces. I don't do that on some of my videos because I'd rather not even be hand stitching them. I have sewing machines, so all I'm doing is hand stitching stuff together because I think people want to see stuff hand stitched together, as long as I think I can get it done in a reasonable amount of time. People like to see stuff that they can do. So if I did everything with a sewing machine, people are like, well, that's great, Magnus, but you've just done, I don't know, 5 hours of work in 15 minutes. So Also, I've never really had any worry about the structural integrity of any of these pieces. It's strong thread. It's not going anywhere. It's fine. Now, if your idea of saddle stitching is just two needles going back and forth, then one needle going all the way up and all the way back down is the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, other than your ability to cinch it a bit, maybe. I don't know. So unless you're actually knotting your thread, you can just run it all the way up and roll it. I find it faster. I burn through it really quick. Doing this stuff, it's just, I don't know, not my thing. And I don't saddle stitch anything. The only stuff, I just saddle stitch for you guys. That's it. It's the only reason. I don't saddle stitch for when I'm making something for somebody. Why would I do that? That's crazy. I have sewing machines. Where can I get those cool weights? Now, this question, I get asked this question all the time. These are the cool weights. They're pretty awesome. They're amazing, actually. I wish I had more of them. I got these from my studio mate when he was right across the bench from me. He's left, he's gone on to different things, but I don't think he makes them anymore. So, I don't know, you can go check out his website, Drawbridge Props on Etsy, and you could beg him to make them, maybe, or like throw money at him. I'm sure if you throw money at him, he'll make them, but I don't think he wants to make them, so have a go. Ooh. Hollow's Darkness says, how much would it cost to get started in leatherworking? Really, it really depends on what you want to make. Just the tools? What about the leather? What are you making? Are you making a wallet? It's not that much to get a basic set of tools. Under $100 to get like a very basic set of tools that can do a fair amount of things. Then plus your leather, I think is a fair range for like extreme basics here. You're like nothing crazy. And then you can just expand from there until all of your money is gone. Moving on. Streets of Warfare asks, can we get a video on making a scabbard? I've been looking for a good tutorial, but I don't like any of the ones on YouTube, preferably one without a wood core. Sure, yeah, I can do that. I don't know when I'll pencil it in, but I will bump it up the list because I know I've done a few of those for film, especially ones without a wood core because you're just scrambling to make scabbards. And a lot of people do scabbards and they're like flopping all over the place if they're just leather. So you got to find that like nice balance. So yeah, I totally can do that for you, Streets of Warfare. Apollo SC says, I'd be keen to see your take on a cuirass. In the works. Stay tuned. All I'm going to say about that for now. In regards to my elbow video, the dude says you need to share how you do the finger snap technique and stop being selfish. No. The Drakenmaster says, why do you bathe your pieces in hot wax? He probably didn't say it like that, but that's how I'm reading it. And this is in regards to how to make leather leg armor. Most of my armor videos so far have been waxed armor videos for the Society for Creative Anachronism, which I'm a part of, where we use rattan weapons, blunt force trauma on our armored friends. This is really easy. It's really easy. I don't know. It's an easy way of doing it. Now, wait, is it period? Would they have done it back in the Dark Ages? No, they would not have. The most you're going to get is people boiling stuff or baking leather or boiling leather with water to harden it, which works, but it's a lot more tedious, so I don't do it. Chris Northworthy says, thanks. Since you are using only one piece of thread, how do you measure it out properly? Also, is that a special vise I see people using for this? This is in regards to a how to saddle stitch quick and easy video, and the vise is a stitching pony. So it's usually just flexed together and you loosen it and it comes apart. As far as the thread goes, I don't have it down to an exact science, but off the top of my head, I will go one length, two lengths, because you got to go down and back. Another length of thread of the same distance because it's bending and moving. And then another length just to have some extra on the end. Now, if it's a super long piece, maybe I'll go a little less, but that's, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Worst that can happen is I've got some extra thread. I'm not really worried about it. I got lots of thread. James Note says, is your shop Etsy or is it Shopify? I have both. Now, It's much better to go buy stuff off of my Shopify. Why? Because it's almost all patterns and artwork anyways, and if I update my pattern or artwork on the Shopify, everybody gets sent out a link to the new patterns and artwork. So my website is darkhorseworkshop.com. That's my Shopify site. I also have an Etsy site because it's impossible to break away once you've been there. It's just, people go to Etsy as if they go to Google. I go to Etsy sometimes just to search for stuff. So leaving Etsy at this point would be silly. But darkhorseworkshop.com is the place to be. Raymond Petit says, I had no idea it was that easy or that so few tools were needed. That's in regards to my leather carving tutorial, Viking style. Now, there's a lot of stuff that helps with the process, but he's very right. You don't need much. If you're doing some portrait style, like landscape crazy stuff, then yes, it can get a little carried away with your tools. But for me, you just need one blade, a backgrounder, a beveler, a stylus, tracing filament, a pen, a hammer, granite slab, some water, and a sponge. That's probably about it. Yeah, that's it. Frank S. says, don't you sell your own creations? You just sell patterns, artwork, and t-shirt designs on your website, not leather pieces? There are a few leather pieces on my website, not many. I don't want to make anything more than once. I work in film, I build props and costumes, I build lots of cool stuff, which is along the same lines as you're usually not making the same thing, unless it's belts or some kind of military gack. So a lot of the time in film, I just get to like pump out new stuff all the time. I'm always being creative, which is great. I want the same thing for my YouTube, which means I make stuff once. Now, I may start selling these pieces. I've played with the idea of putting them on my website, but considering the amount of leather carving I put on them and what I charge as a craftsperson, they're gonna be really expensive. Not only that, the pieces here, I could put my quiver on my website. My one quiver. I have one quiver. Am I gonna make another quiver? No, I'm not gonna make another quiver. So if I'm gonna put a quiver on the website, it's gonna be the quiver from the video, and it's gonna be marked up because I don't really want to sell it, but I'm willing to sell it if that means I can put more money into my YouTube channel, buy some new lighting or camera gear. That's the only way I'm gonna sell other projects, pieces. Yeah. Moving on. One of my earlier pouch videos was how to make a Viking belt pouch purse. Mary Maker says, nice work, but not Viking. And I 100% agree. It's not. It is very much an inspired Viking pouch. Now, I've done a couple of more historical pouches since then, but that how to make a Viking belt pouch / purse has got some knotwork on it. It's got a toggle. It's very much a... If you think the Vikings TV show is appropriately Viking, then this pouch is just fine for you. That's all you gotta think about. Free0069 says, hey, what kind of pen are you using for your tracing paper? I'm pretty sure he means a pen, but in case he's not, there's two things I use for my tracing paper. If I am tracing it, I use a little fine point Sharpie. Ultra fine point Sharpie. When I trace the image to the leather itself, I use a stylus. You probably can't see it. It's nothing amazing. It's a pointy tool. It's a pointy, rounded tool, so it doesn't stab anything. One side is a little bigger, one side is a little smaller. Great. Ira Pelletier says, dude, your videos are always so good. Thank you. Just throwing that out there. Try metric measurements. If nothing else, it's definitely easier to say. Glad I found this great video, thanks. I can't try metric, we've gone over this already. Our main Aldalco says, I love it when you show your mishaps, you just keep being you. Thank you. I think the mishaps are great. They're educational, and sometimes they're actually quite amusing. Well, not necessarily for me, but for everybody else. Mr. Diano says, why must be vegetan leather? Now, it must be vegetable tan leather when you're carving leather because it accepts moisture and then takes a form when you cut it or punch it and then holds that form when it dries. That's it. You can certainly cut lines in whatever you want, but it's not gonna split open and hold its shape. You're just gonna cut a line that kind of goes and closes and looks weird. Anyways, there you go. Well, that's about it, everybody. And now, in case it wasn't obvious, leave a comment down below. Maybe I'll read it on the next video if you care, or I'll just answer it by typing away. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for future content. Hit the notification button so you don't miss any of my videos. And until next time, keep on being creative in whatever it is you do. I didn't freeze. I'm still here. Anyways,